Hi everyone. Welcome to the unedited version of my world, my randomness, where I speak my mind and expand my comfort zone. For episode one, um, even though I'm so nervous, I would like to answer the questions that were given to me by friends, by former students, and by other people when I posted question when I posted something about if you have questions for me that you would want me to answer. And so I compiled them here. So yes, I know the questions already, but I would want to answer them as real as I pick from this container. And so there, let's start with a pink one. I'm very nervous right now and unedited version because I just wanted to be as raw as possible, and I'm really nervous right now. But yeah, here we go. First question is by Sir Danny. So yeah, so Sir Danny is the owner of the printing press where I published my two poetry books. So more on that on future episodes. This is the most difficult question I have, and it's ironic that this is the first question I picked. So, Sir Danny asked me how to teach calmness, meditation, and the right thinking. Mm, for this one, uh, I feel like before you teach something, it is important that you learn it yourself. And if the question refers to how I teach other people calmness, meditation, and the right thinking, I can say that I'm not yet at that level. It's because I am still learning how to teach myself how to be calm, the right thinking, and also meditation. And before, as mentioned, before I teach it to someone else, I would like to learn it and master it on my own so that I can integrate the techniques that I have learned along the process and based on my experience. So I hope I answer your question, Sir Danny. Thank you for that. And the next one, let's pick an orange one this time. So the next question is this is the second most difficult question I received. So this is by Julie Veen. So Julie Veen Alivine. So Vin is one of my former colleagues and one of my soul sisters. So her question is, do you forgive yourself every day? Yeah, insert cricket sounds. Um, do I forgive myself every day? I learn to forgive myself every day. If I was asked this question before, I might have said no. But right now, I'm in the process, or I am on the process of learning how to accommodate my mistakes, my humanity, as we call it. And I'm starting to learn that failures are not really failures, but they are lessons to be learned, in that they are important in my growth, especially my personal development, my professional improvement, and in how I deal with other people. So, in terms of forgiving myself, I think it goes back to the context of the things I have done before or the words I have said that I can no longer take back. And yes, I am learning to forgive myself and to accommodate whatever lessons I have learned in the past and integrate them to what I am doing right now and what I would like to do in the future. So, thank you for that question, Vin. Next question. So, let's get another orange one. Yeah. So, this is from Jazel Arellano. Actually, Jazel sent me 5 questions, if I'm not mistaken, but I have grouped the questions according to topic or according to theme. So, this is one of the 5 questions of Jazel. So, thank you, Jazel, for sending me the most number of questions. Don't worry, I am not angry or anything. Dapat ba mataas yung grade sa abnormal psychology or determinasyon din ng tao? So this question is in the context of being a psychology student or being a psychologist, a practitioner in the mental health profession. So in my opinion, kung tinatanong kung dapat bang mataas yung grades sa abnormal psychology, there are a lot of subjects that are seen as a foundation of psychology. And in the board exam for psychologists, there are four core subjects that you have to pass, which are theories of personality, advanced theories of personality, advanced psychological assessment, advanced abnormal psychology, and guidance and psychological techniques or psychotherapy. So I guess abnormal psychology really helps in terms of having the license of being a registered psychologist. But in terms of being a practitioner, if you would want to be in other fields, because psychology is not only focused on abnormality or the context of abnormal psychology, you can also explore other areas or fields. So, yes, I think not necessarily a grade, but a good understanding of abnormal psychology would really help you to get the license and to also practice psychology, but also balance it with the actual understanding of why you are taking the board exam and why you want to be a psychologist. So I hope I answered that question. Okay, so going back to the next or going to the next one. This is from Jason Aureliano. So, what made you think that psychology is your calling, and when did you realize this? When I received this question, I really reflected on what I would want, or how do I say this? I reflected on how far I have gone, how far I have reached in terms of what I have dreamed before. And although I am a beginner in the clinical setting and in the field in general, I have learned a lot, and I'm very happy at what my decisions led me to. And so, answering your question, what made you think psychologists were calling? Um, I do not know. I have no exact answer as to what makes me think that psychology is my calling, but I do have the answer for when did you realize this? Mm, I realized that I can be a part of the psychology field or the mental health profession when I sat on the examination or when I sat on the chair of the examination room during the first day of the board licensure exam for psychologists in Manila. So this was 2018. So 2 years ago. Tagal na pala. 2 years ago. Prior to the board exams, I was going through a lot of personal things, a lot of personal stuff. And I really didn't mind if I pass or if I fail the board exams. So I was okay with failing the board exams because I was ready to apply again the following year and take the exam again. However, when I sat on the chair and I saw the first set of exam questions, and then I browsed the questions, then I realized that I wanted it so bad that I prayed and I actually, I'm not sure if this is the correct word. It was a bargain. I think I made a bargain in my prayer where if I pass, then this happens. I wouldn't want to share that because it's too personal. But if I pass a board exam, then this happens, or this is what I can give. This is what I will give you in terms of a bargain. So I am doing it now, and I was very surprised that I passed the board exams. A few of my friends and my family knows the story behind it, but yeah, I knew then and there that it was something that I would love to do and something that I have to do. Although I don't know what makes me think that psychology is my calling. And I know that's a roundabout answer, but yes, that's unedited. That's how I think of the answer right now. So I hope, Jay, that I gave you a decent response to your questions. So, on to the next one. Let's pick an orange one. This is from Ashbel. So, Ashbel Fuentebelia. This, although it's not a question, this made me think as well. Any facts about you? Um, I find this question difficult to answer because it's very straightforward. Like, can you give me facts about you, or can we know you more? I'll share three facts about me. First, I'm not really fond of answering questions with the word favorite. Ever since elementary, I noticed this because there is, we call this, yung pinapasagot to elementary, like, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite cartoon? Who is your crush? I often skip the questions with the word favorite, or just I just invent what I recently discovered and write it there just for me to write something. I don't know why, but I'm not fond of answering questions with the word favorite. It depends on a lot of factors. There's just a common answer by people who are in the mental health professional, I guess, or it's just me. I don't know if it's weird, but yes, that's one. Second, in my elementary yearbook, in our elementary yearbook, there is a question there, or there is a portion there where you write what you want to become in the future. And at that time, I wanted to be unique. I wanted to have an answer that has no, what you call this, yung walang kaparehas. So gusto kong maglagay ng sagot doon na wala akong kaparehas. Because my classmates were like nurse, doctor, lawyer, and I wrote ecologist. But I was serious at that time because I found it very interesting when my teacher, our teacher in science, discussed about ecology and the relationships of organisms. I still remember concepts such as commensalism, mm, mutualism, what do you call this, life cycles, food chains. So I was interested in that context, and becoming a scientist, especially an ecologist, made me interested in the field of science generally. So I had the unique answer, but I didn't really go to that path. But it's funny that I still remember that I wrote that just to be unique. Yes, so that's the second. Third fact about me. Hmm, what can I share? Third fact about me. I am interested in words that have the letters I, Z, E, or Z in general. I'm interested in the word mesmerize, italicize. Is that even a word? Yeah, italicize, gaze. Mm, what else are the words with Z, E? Gaze, italicize, mesmerize, magnetize, climatize. Because I found it, or I find them good or pleasant to the ears. I don't know if it's just me. One exception though is rhythm. I like the word, or the way that people say the word rhythm, because it, in essence, the way that you say the word rhythm has a specific rhythm. Or it's just me. I don't know if it's complicated, but yes, I'm interested in words that has, or that have, the letters IZE or ZE. Yeah. So there, three facts about me. Next, let's get a pink one. I hope that this video is, I don't know, I'm giving justice to the questions that you gave me, guys. From Jazel. Ano po masasabi nyo o mapapayo nyo sa mga gustong maging psychologist pero nahihiya o natatakot? Anong masasabi ko sa mga taong gusto maging psychologist pero nahihiya o natatakot? Basically, this is for a general. Something that I would like to say to people who would want to do something, but they feel shy or embarrassed, or they feel fearful or afraid, mm, go back to your intention. Go back to the reason why you want to be a psychologist or why you want to be any profession for that matter. And I guess this is one thing I say to my former students as well. Weigh the pros and cons. If it works for you that you have a list for positive things about it and a negative things about it, so pros and cons, and then you write them down, then give them a ranking if that would be okay with you, or rate them. So from 1 to 10, how important is this pro? How important is this con? And then add them up. Okay? And if you're satisfied with your list, then you have your answer. But if you are not satisfied with your list, you also have your answer. So whether you go to the pros or you go to the cons, if you allow yourself to look more at your pros, if that weighs more, or your cons, if that weighs more, then you still have your answer. So that's one thing, one practical suggestion that I have in terms of my advice, because advice is not so advice is not really advice is not really something that I openly give in terms of this type of interaction, especially because I do not know what circumstances you have or what situation you're currently in, and I do not know how motivated are you or how inspired are you to do something. So I just suggest a practical pro. So there, I just suggested the practical reason. I just suggested a practical activity for you to do, and I hope that it helps. So thank you. Next, an orange one. So this is by Donna. So this is the first question I actually received. So what are your major takeaways in life for the past months? Again, by Miss Donna May Velasquez. What are your major takeaways in life for the past months? Mm, I have a lot. First is not to take myself too seriously, although I'm working on it. Most of my friends and people who are close to me know that I am much more on the serious side. And yes, I'm learning to expand my comfort zone and to be more open to how do I term this? More open to life experiences in general, even though I'm inside the house most of the time. I have anxiety regarding going outside the house because of the pandemic. And what else? That it's okay to take things one step at a time. And that it's important for me to walk my talk. Although I always try my best and I always do my best to walk my talk, but during the past few months, this is a highlight of the pandemic for me. Um, and to explore things in a creative and innovative way. So I am fond of asking and answering questions, and so this is why this is why my first episode for this vlog, if you call it a vlog, is a question and answer format, because I'm I'm interested in how people think. I'm interested in what makes people curious or what interests people. And this is also how I reflect on my personal interests, personal motivation, personal intentions. What else have I learned for the past few months? Mm, that life is short, that I know it's cliche and that you always hear it or you always read it, but people come and go, and we do not really know when our time is up in this physical or material world, and that you do things that make you happy or that would give you satisfaction, that would give you personal fulfillment, considering that you're not stepping on other people's toes or you are not putting someone or yourself in danger. And yes, to focus on my art, to focus on my craft, to focus on the future that I would like for myself. Yep. So I think those are the major takeaways I have learned for the past few months. So thank you, Donna, for the question. Next, pink one. We're down to here. So Verge Ivy. So from Verge Ivy Hobita, if not psychology, anong course sana ang kukunin mo? So by Verge, from Verge Ivy, if not psychology, anong course sana kukunin mo? Hmm, this is a difficult question, but I have prepared an answer for this. Actually, prior to enrollment in college, um, I was thinking about I had two options. Well, technically three. So I had three options. So my first option was to take mass communications. It is because of my preference for writing and speaking in terms of hobbies, in terms of activities. So mass communication was the first option. The second option was psychology because I was very interested in the field. I encountered psychology when I was in elementary, while I was watching a documentary about what was then called the multiple personality disorder. And I wanted to find an answer and I wanted to research about it at grade one, grade two. I don't know, but as it was way back then. So during my elementary days, I encountered a documentary about multiple personality disorder and I wanted to answer and I wanted to help people who had that condition. And that's how I started to become interested in psychology. And these two options I wanted to take in St. Louis University. The primary reason I wanted to be a part of St. Louis University is because of Quaderno. Quaderno is their literary portfolio, and I encountered it during my elementary again because of my cousins who were studying in St. Louis. And I dreamed of having one of my pieces published in Quaderno. So that was my main consideration of enrolling in St. Louis. The third, because his option back then was enrolling in UP Baguio, so University of the Philippines, Baguio. I passed the UPCAT and the course was economics, economics minor in psychology. So that was a consideration because so that was a consideration. Um, B BS economics, BS economics minor in psychology was a consideration because some of my friends were enrolled or wanted to enroll in UP Baguio. So I wanted to join them. But yes, my interest in psychology was the major decision factor, plus Quaderno. So I enrolled in SLU, BS Psychology. So there. Next, we have a question from Jazel. So, Jazel Aureliano still. Masaya ba o nakaka-stress maging psychologist? Mahirap ba ang maging psychologist? So, masaya ba o nakaka-stress maging psychologist? Mahirap ba maging psychologist? So, first, so masaya or nakaka-stress? Um, as we always say, stress is inevitable. It's a daily occurrence. So, hindi mo siya matatakasan. And yes, being a psychologist does not excuse us from feeling and experiencing stress. So, that's one. Masaya ba? Of course, because I am in a field where I can help people. I know that's a cliche answer, but it's also a field where I can have um, personal growth and professional identity in a sense. At the same time, practice what I learned and evolve in terms of my knowledge, my practice, the profession. So it's fun. I find it fun because I love the course, I love the field. I am highly interested in psychology, not just because I have my personal reasons or that I want to help people. It's the entire thing of psychology, or the entire, what do you call it? It's the field itself that I'm in love with. And right now, I can say that I do not regret making the decision of actually enrolling in BS psychology and pursuing a master's degree and eventually getting the license and practicing that license. Next, mahirap pa maging psychologist? I think it depends. Whatever profession, there are difficulties and there are setbacks, there are challenges, but it depends on the of mm, level of motivation you have to face those challenges, to solve those problems, and to overcome those setbacks. So if you are willing enough to overcome setbacks or challenges and problems that accompany psychology, then I think it's less difficult, it's less stressful. But if you are not interested, if you are not, what do you call this? If you're not prepared, if you're not ready to face the challenges that accompany a certain profession, then maybe it's not the profession for you, because you can only do so much in a profession that you do not really love, that you do not find a personal and a professional attachment to, that you cannot find personal growth in, that you cannot advance your comfort zone, or that you cannot expand your comfort zone. And there are professions that would make you feel trapped, or that would make you feel enclosed, or that would make you feel. So, as mentioned, um, there are professions, or there are fields of studies that can make you feel closed and trapped, um, limited in a way, because your personal beliefs do not necessarily, your personal beliefs, personality, your motivation, your inspiration do not necessarily um, or are not necessarily inclined or parallel to that profession. That's why it's a very important practice to, or it's a very important, yeah, practice to discover what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what your motivations are in going to a certain profession or in merging professions, because some people can work two professions at the same time and they do not necessarily see it as work. When I say work, they have the capacity to be an entrepreneur and at the same time be a psychologist, for example, or be an accountant and at the same time be a lawyer. That's why we have CPA lawyers, or be a doctor and a lawyer at the same time. So it depends on your passion, I guess, and it depends on how well you understand yourself to go to the field where you know that you can grow. And this is one thing I tell my former students as well: you will always reach the place and you will go to places where you are needed. And sometimes it's quite a plain answer, but when you get to that point where you have to choose where to go, what company to apply if you're going to be an employer, what organization you'd build if you want to be an employee for the previous one, what organization you want to build if you are an entrepreneur or an employer, then it boils down to that question: where are you needed and how are you needed? And I hope I answered that question. So down to the last two questions. So we get the orange one. Second to the last question is by Maria Bernadette Red. So, hi Red. Ano pong coping strategies kapag maraming nang let down? So, ano pong coping strategies kapag maraming nang let down? Although this seems like a personal question, I would want to answer it in a general context. People, or I guess some people are doing their best, let's just say, to let you down because they see something or they are watching you do something that they themselves cannot do. In a sense that, how is it? This is just a scenario. They might think or they might be thinking, how is it that you're doing something that I have long to do, but it seems too easy for you? So parang, bakit ikaw ang dali mong gawin yung isang bagay na matagal ko nang gusto or matagal ko nang hindi magawa para sa sarili ko? So this is train or train one train of thought that I do consider when there are people who bring down or let down other people, plus crab mentality, but I would not discuss that. Another thing is coping strategy. Go back to your intention still. Go back to the reason why you're doing what you do. As long as you do not hurt people, you do not hurt yourself, you do not, gaya na sasabi ko sa mga estudyante ko, as long as it's moral, legal, and ethical, it's okay. Whatever your definition of moral, legal, and ethical is. Of course, that's the fourth one is being humane, you know. There are just some laws, LAWS, that you cannot do regardless of your personal morals, personal ethics, and personal rules or policies. So there, go back to your intention, go back to your motivation, and consider them or consider their comments or their reactions, their response as a building block or a stepping stone that, okay, I'm doing something different. That's why I'm receiving these reactions. What else can I do? Because if you focus too much on the outside or the external world, your inner world might be too abandoned or not taken care of. And essentially, you break down or so there, essentially, you break down or experience internal conflict. And internal conflict is not really pleasant. It's an unpleasant experience. So focusing on your motivation, your goal, where you're going, the future that you want for yourself would be a good technique. And, you know, if they are too much in terms of people who are judgmental or people who are commenting on what you do, um, it's a process. It's a learning process of first letting the comments inside one ear and letting them out the other ear until it evolves to the context that dito pa lang, block na sila. So for now, let it enter and then out the other ear, and it will eventually come to the point where you can block them here, then it extends as it extends. However, be very critical and be very cautious about what comments you allow yourself to attach to or to reflect on, because some comments are essential in your personal growth. And although these comments may be positive or negative, it depends on the intention of who said that. So be very mindful of your social circle and people you let into your life. So there, I hope I answered your question right. So the last question and the last question for this episode is from Naomi Grace Cabanero. What made you decide to make a channel? Inspiration and thoughts running through your head. So this is actually a good question, good set of questions for the ending of this episode. What made me decide to make a channel? First was actually because of my speaking engagements. So I wanted to compile my speaking engagements in one place. And since I currently do not have a website or a domain yet, I opted to do a YouTube channel. And I think it's What else? It's a way for me to express myself, and it's an expansion of my creativity, I guess, beyond the books that I have published, beyond the podcast that I'm still working on, and it's still running. If you'd like to check that out, Spotify, Spotify. The title of my podcast is Sa Labas ng Classroom or Outside the Classroom. Yeah, I'm currently on episode 10, if I'm not mistaken, episode 9 or 10. Yeah, I don't even remember. But yes, I have plans for that. And what else? It's also a way for me to speak my mind generally and to have interactions with people who are interested to learn about anything under the sun, specifically psychology. And also a way for me to learn from other people. If ever there are people who would watch this video whom I do not know, whom I have not yet personally encountered, then it's a way for me to meet new people. So, yes, that's the first question. Inspiration. My inspiration, honestly, my former students. Shout out to you guys. Um, they are an inspiration of my former students for creating a YouTube channel because I have seen them grow in the sense that I am excited for their achievements. Some of my former students have graduated already, so congrats to you guys, and I'm so proud of you. Um, and they have been an essential part of my journey in terms of a personal struggle that I'm experiencing, and they know this. So yes, I'm forever grateful for each and every one of you, and one of my episodes will feature my gratefulness, or my gratitude to you. So stay tuned. And their inspirations would be expanding my comfort zone, as I mentioned in the first part of the video. So I have an anxiety in terms of speaking, although people tell me that it's not noticeable. But yes, I still feel anxious when I speak, even though I'm speaking to a laptop right now. But yes. And current thoughts. My current thoughts would be after posting this video is to focus on the podcast. That's one. The next is my passion project. So if you haven't checked our page yet, I'm the founder of the 100% Attitude Project. You can check us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We also have a LinkedIn account. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that we would have our website up and running soon. We have prepared a lot of events and fun stuff for you. So, there, our passion project is a volunteer group at the moment. We are, mm, what would I say? Um, we are aiming to be a group that bridges mental health practitioners and Filipinos to provide mental health services while also helping local businesses and entrepreneurs. So that's our mission. Yeah, mission vision. You can check our page for more details. And so that's the second one. The third is, of course, is YouTube channel. I'm still working on content, and yes, I will not edit anything. First, because I have zero knowledge in video editing. The second is I know it takes time, and I think I cannot allot that much time in editing. And so you can hear me, what you see is what you get. That's the second reason. And third is if ever I would hire a video editor, that would quite cost me, and I'm not yet ready in terms of my finances to actually pay for someone to edit my videos. So that's third. Um, Current thoughts. I'm excited to actually produce more content for this channel, and I hope that with every episode that you watch, or every episode you click on or that you encounter, you learn at least one thing from me, or that you reflect on something regarding what I say. So feel free to comment your reactions, your opinions, and your suggestions for content. I would not do pranks. I would not do what do you call this, trendy stuff. Yes, I'll veer away from those. So I will do my best to give you quality content in terms of my definition of quality. I hope so. And what else? So there, comment, like, and share, I guess. Subscribe to my channel. So thank you for the subscribers. I know it's weird. It's weird coming from me. I never really expected to say these words. But yes, so thank you. Like and share, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on my next video. Bye, guys.